Hello, movie patient, and welcome to Film Therapy. I am Brianne, also known as Miss Movies, also known as your film therapist. I am not a real therapist, but I play one on the internet just for this show. And this show doesn't work without any guests. I mean, it does not work without a guest or guests in this situation, and that is Mr. Tim Gettys.
Let him host.
And Mr. Nick Scarpino.
Hello, everyone.
The producer/seducer.
That's he. That's I.
This is definitely a special edition. I want to call it like the super special session edition.
What do you think we're going to talk about today?
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
I wonder. You got us too. We're in our studio.
So you came up and
surrounded by family.
You came up to do our podcast, and
I
then
did.
we're like, no, you got to come back. We got to do your stuff.
Well,
so now
I was the one that was like, hey, I'm here. We should figure this out.
Right, and we figured it out.
We all
I'm
like
glad.
this movie.
a little
series.
bit. Just a little.
Just a skosh.
Yeah.
So how does this work? Kick it off for us.
Okay, so here's how it works.
Doctor.
This is a storytelling show. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask 3 questions. They're the same 3 questions, even though this is the special edition. What is a film that inspires you? But it's going to be, what is a Fast and Furious film that inspires you? What is a film or a scene from a film or a scene from a Fast and Furious film that triggers a memory for you? Perhaps it's painful, perhaps it's a happy memory. And what is a Fast and Furious film that you watch when times are difficult? So those are my questions.
Got
I
it.
do want to say the reason I started this show is because I do suffer from depression. And so I want those out there to know that if you are suffering from something and you have an emergency at this time, I want you to please call 911, go to a doctor, get the help that you need right now if you need it now. And definitely talk to people about it. That's another thing that's very important. And be very specific with what you need from others when you are looking for help.
If you need help, get it fast and furious.
And
You don't need
fast
to get it
and
furiously.
furiously.
But you get it fast. Fast is probably more, in the grand scheme of things, fast is more important than furious on that scale. What's funny is the other day I was talking to myself and I was like, there really are 2 types of people in the world. There's the fast and then there's the furious. And then I thought, well, there's actually a third. There's the fast and the furious. And I guess there's a 4th. There's neither fast nor furious.
Yeah.
So there's 4 types of people in the world, just so everyone knows.
Okay.
Yeah, where you fit on that spectrum, it's up to you, really. I like to be fast and furious, but also patient and kind.
Thank you for
Sometimes you're too fast.
You think I'm
furious.
too fast and too furious?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, sometimes you drift around corners
It's true.
like you're in Tokyo. That
Sounds
was a
fair.
terrible joke.
Yeah, you tried that.
Brad, you got to just jump in here
Well,
at
you
any
know
point.
what? Well, the thing is, I was like, speaking of drifting around corners, my husband owns a drift car, and he was interviewed for Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift to be in the special edition, like DVD features.
That's
But his
awesome.
part got cut.
No.
So I was sad.
He could have been part of history.
Oh, I know. Isn't it amazing?
What car does he have?
He has a 50 Mustang, which he's sold to a drifter, Samuel Hubinet, and then and now he's building another one.
The
another 50
Mustang, not
Mustang.
typically thought of for drifting.
That's why he likes it.
Yeah, but
Yes.
if for anyone that's seen Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, obviously,
Right.
anything is possible.
Anything. You can drift anything.
with the Mustang.
You drift a GTO, although we never really saw that. We just saw him pull up, right?
Yeah, well, it was but the Mustang was the thing they were working on the whole time.
That's
so,
right,
like,
that's
get that
right.
forward. Whatever. I don't know cars, but I know Fast and Furious.
You do know. Well, then you know cars because there's been every car under the sun in one of those, including in, what was it?
It wasn't a PT Cruiser.
Was it 6 or
Unfortunately.
5 when Ludacris goes and buys all the cars?
5?
5, right? Where they go to that fancy car auction and they're like, no, that was 6.
I'll
wasn't
take
it?
them all. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And
Oh,
there's that.
yeah. Sorry,
a-hole
they got
guy.
the money at the end of 5.
Right, and then it's 6.
rolled
Remember,
up
he's like
in
he
nice cars.
he rolls up and he's like, I want to buy all those cool cars.
Yeah.
And it's like
Good
total
for you,
fantasy
Luda.
fulfillment.
Good for you.
Leading the charge, Ludacris.
So let's get into our first question. But before we
Jump.
do that, I'm sure that those that are watching know who you guys are. But just in case they don't, Tim, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm Tim Gettys. I am from Kinda Funny. We're a YouTube channel over at youtube.com/kindafunny. And if you're into video games, youtube.com/kindafunnygames. I am a Fast and Furious enthusiast. And I, like many of you, enjoy ice cream.
What flavor ice cream do you enjoy?
I can't say that I don't enjoy any flavors of ice cream that I've ever had. Big fan overall. Mint chocolate chip, though, my
That's on
go-to.
point.
My
Yeah.
go-to. As I've grown and matured and learned, I realized that is my go-to. Is it boring? Sure. I
It's
don't
not
care.
boring. Actually, a lot of people, I think it's more exotic than it ought to be because the mint adds just such an X factor to it, right? Because mint is a very strong taste. A lot of people don't like mint. A lot of people like vanilla.
hates mint.
But a lot of people can get into chocolate. But you start putting mint in there, and it's a wild card, really.
I'm
I
into
used
it.
to hate mint.
Really?
Now I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't understand the Irishman. I don't get it.
Irishman.
But I kind of like
It's
it.
a little bit creamier.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
creamier.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I still haven't evolved to really appreciate that taste. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Nick Scarpino. I also am from Kind of Funny, youtube.com/Kind of Funny. And I too like ice cream, although recently I've been trying a low carb diet, so I can't have ice cream. But if I were to have ice cream, I'd have gold medal ribbon from 31 Flavors because it's the best ice cream on the planet.
I'd go with chocolate peanut butter from Baskin Robbins or chocolate malted crunch from Thrifty.
Oh, son of a
so you
bitch.
can get
Chocolate
it in
Malted Crunch.
in
a cylindrical?
Yeah. I can't.
That
I
is
don't
my
know that word.
childhood right there. My brother used to love. He still loves chocolate malted crunch.
We still
He'll go
have
and
it.
he'll get him packed into like the bigger container and take them home with him. So good.
Or you can just buy it already packed.
Well, they didn't used to do that though. I don't think.
that's
I think
true.
they used to. Actually, they did, but they used to have them in the square cartons. Remember that?
Oh, that's a
And it-
disaster.
yeah,
The
they're
paper
disaster.
cartons?
Because you eventually
Oh.
get halfway through
And so
it,
your whole
and
hand
your hand
turns into your
it would
arm.
just be a
into
child, like a
this
6-year-old
nasty-
child with a lollipop. Man, it would
God.
just be disgusting.
I was thinking while you were talking about mint chocolate chip, do you guys like, here's what I like, peppermint ice cream with chocolate sauce. Anyone into
sure.
that? Anyone into
Sure, I
that?
can get
Yeah.
into that.
I'm just again.
There
I'm
are
just a
very-
fan of
you're a
ice cream.
purist.
There's very few
I
ice
just- I'm
creams
just
that you
in.
don't like. Anything with that's the thing with ice cream. Yeah, I can't think of gumballs. Maybe like a bubble gum ice cream.
Oh.
No, it's kind of disgusing.
I'm still
Yeah.
into it though.
Really?
It's low on the spectrum, but I still like
it's
it.
there.
Yeah, I mean, because in San Francisco, obviously, we have a lot of alternative, like weird, like we're
Nitro ice
organic
cream,
and,
shit like that, yeah.
So there's a lot of like ube flavored and a lot of Asian flavors and a lot of Peruvian. Random fruits and shit, and I'm like, I'm not super into those,
Yeah.
but I can't even hate on them. They're good.
It's hard to hate on things that are good, but what else is good is this show. And thank you for subscribing. So let's get into our first question. Our first question is, what is a Fast and Furious film that inspires you? Let's start with Nick.
I'm gonna go with,
Which one
I'm going to go with
inspires
Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. That is the third in the series, and obviously the departure in tone and in specifically in casting. The movie inspires me because largely I think the franchise was dead up until that point, and someone somewhere along the line took a chance on it and
Justin Lin.
was like, let's revive this thing. Whole new cast, but was somehow able to keep sort of what the heart of Fast and Furious, what made Fast and Furious fun for the audience, what made it sort of the passionate fans still had those touchstones in it, right? Not the least of which was Vin Diesel at the very, very end of it. But it still very much felt like a Fast and Furious film, even though it was a completely different world, completely different crew and cast. And that really revitalized the series. That is the turning point for that series. Up until then, it was sort of just a cheesy, in my brain, a cheesy action, one quasi okay action movie followed by a terrible sequel that, by all intents and purposes, should have put the final fucking nail in that coffin. Are we allowed to swear on this?
Absolutely.
Okay. Otherwise, I would have marked the time code and gone myself and just ripped it
Well,
out.
thank
of
you.
The digital file. That's how that works, right? That's
You
how
ripped the
computers work.
page out.
Yeah.
But I loved it, and it was it's a fun movie. It's obviously a little bit paint by numbers, but so are all the Fast and Furious films. And I mean that's the one everyone points to as saying like that was the make or break movie. That was the one where it's like this is either it or holy crap, now we're getting Fast and Furious 8 or what's it called?
They
Furious
haven't
8.
announced the title yet.
It's
It's
Fast
Fast
8.
8 is the hashtag Fast 8.
Fast 8, okay.
But we'll see. I don't know. I mean, because going based off the naming structure they've had has always been a little bit weird.
Yeah.
And there's not really a through line, and they haven't really stayed consistent because Fast 6, as we know now as Fast and Furious
Fast
6.
and Furious.
Not to be confused with The Fast and The Furious. But
Right.
they renamed, so 1 was The Fast and the Furious,
Right.
right?
Yes.
2 was Too Fast,
Fast,
Too
Too
Furious.
Furious.
Genius.
3 was The Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. 4 was then just Fast and Furious, dropping the does. Then 5 came out and it was Fast 5.
And it was written out F-I-V-E, not letter,
Yes,
not number.
Yes, you were correct. FASTFIVE. Then the 6th one came out, and this is where things get a little messy because the movie's called Fast and Furious 6 with the number.
Right.
But the title of that movie, when you're watching it, it says Furious 6.
Right.
So it would have been Fast 5
Ooh.
and Furious 6. But when you look at like the Blu-ray covers and all that, it literally just says Fast and Furious 6.
Right.
Then we get Furious 7.
Right.
Which is a little weird when you think about it because that naming structure between 5, 6, and 7 doesn't really add up. So them calling this one Fast 8, we'll see where it lands. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, Tim, what about you? What is your what movie in the series inspires you?
I mean, Tokyo Drift is obviously up there in many regards. But in terms of inspiration, I don't know if I can give it to it. I mean, obviously Han's wise words in it about not.
I'm surprised that you're not. Yeah, I'm surprised because you're such a Han fan.
Han, I mean, as far
Han
as
is
I'm
like
Tim
the
is
best.
Tim is many many times tried to argue that Han is the star of the series.
The entire
I love Han.
franchise
Like I had chills
is
of
his
you
story.
just saying that right now.
Yeah, Han is the best.
I love
Han is the
Han.
absolute best. He's the Obi-Wan Kenobi of the series, and so it's like, okay, cool, great. It's Anakin's story. It's Luke's story, but Obi-Wan is the dopeness, right?
Well, it should have been
so
Obi-Wan's
Han.
story, but-
Han is the dopeness, but I disagree with you in the sense that Tokyo Drift was not the one everyone had their eyes on of will this or won't this make something. It was the one everyone had their eyes on of this is a dumb straight to DVD movie that happens to be in theaters. And I don't think anybody gave it a shot of belief of it being a thing.
Oh no, I'm not sitting here defending it like all the critics were like, this is it, this is our final hope for a franchise.
Yeah.
I just think it came out of nowhere and was so good and so fun that it revitalized the
Exactly.
series.
So, and I share your sentiment in. So, for me, what's inspiring is I would go all the way to Fast Five because while 3, Justin Lin knocked it out of the park and kind of made something out of, I don't want to say nothing, but made something
Close to nothing.
from close to nothing.
Yeah.
And inspired everybody that did see it to have that cult classic of like, no, but you guys don't get it. Fast 3 was good because everyone's like, no, I don't believe you.
Right.
But then anyone that watched it was like, no, that was actually good. And then they came out with 4, and 4 is the one that I would want to give the inspiration award to because 4 was the one where Justin was like, I'm going to make this a franchise and I want to make this a thing where I am combining the 2 worlds, the 2 canons that we've lived with into one. And it was rough. It was really
a rough go.
But
Didn't really come together.
we
It
couldn't
was.
have had 5 if we didn't have 4. So 4 was him making.
Number wise, correct.
So what you're so it's the so what you're saying is it's the old school mentality of like what makes a craze, right, or what makes a sort of a movement. Is it the first person that follows the movement? In this case, that would be Tokyo Drift, or is it the second person that legitimizes that first person and makes all the crowd come?
Exactly.
Which is the
And-
Fast and Furious. I don't know if that made any sense.
No, that makes total
You know?
makes total sense. You don't have a thing unless it's more
Unless it's proven.
It's
Yeah.
proven, and it's proven in that way. And I think that Justin Lin, having directed Tokyo Drift 4 and 5, he really he knew what he was doing to the point to get to 5. Like 5 was an obvious goal of his, and it took the disaster that was 4 to get to that point because from that movie, it is earned that this is a family and that these group of characters belong together. And seeing Han interact with Vin Diesel and Paul Walker made sense.
Now 4 is the one where he Sherlock Holmes the crime scene. And,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that movie had
4.
some good stuff in it, but I think the problem is 5 was so good that you look back. Like when I first saw Fast and Furious, when I saw Fast and Furious 4, I was like, that was fun. That was cool. I'm into this. I will see the next one. Then you see 5 and you're like, oh, this is what it
5
should
was
be.
like the Point Break moment for me. Like
yeah.
this is
Oh,
Point Break
God,
with
yes.
cars. Like that's. It
I'm
just
assuming
cemented it for me.
you're talking Point Break, Patrick Swayze.
Oh,
not
of
Point
course.
Break,
Of course. I'm not talking Luke Bracey.
Yeah.
Although I do like Luke Bracey because he was in Hacksaw Ridge, and I was like, oh, hi, Luke Bracey. Anyways, so I have a confession that I have to make.
Sure.
Here's how I saw Fast and Furious in order originally.
Go ahead.
Oh no.
The Fast and the Furious.
Okay.
Too
Done.
Fast, Too Furious.
Lovely.
Fast and Furious.
So okay.
So you skipped
Furious 7.
3. Whoa.
You skipped 6.
Whoa.
Okay, and then I was like, I need to I was like, I like these films, and I need to just go back. I need to buy the entire set and go through it one by one.
Yes.
So that way I can experience
Appreciate.
everything. And that was like
Subtlety.
within the last 2 years that I did that. So
That must have
yeah,
been.
I did. Okay, so that the big hole that you see, I'll be completely honest, was my like huge depression that I went into for like 2 years. And so I was like, I don't want to do anything with film. I'm done with this. Like, I don't want to be Miss Movies anymore. Like, I just want, I want to leave it all.
It was like Spider-Man giving up his powers.
Right.
Yeah.
And so now I was like, all right, I'm back. I can do this. I can go back through and go back to the things I love.
And that's when you met Han.
And that's when I met Han. I was like, oh man, this is like my favorite character. How did I not? I didn't even know he existed because
I know,
he's not
he
in
was
7.
so minimally in 4. And he's not in 7.
And I think it was because I cried so much at the end of 7 that I was like, I need to go back. And like, if someone told me that I would be crying, like profusely crying, I've never
tell
had this
you-
amount of tears come from my eyes.
I'll tell you one thing right now. If you are a Fast and Furious fan and you don't cry at the end of 6 or 7,
You don't have a heart.
if you don't feel like first off, I teared up when Gal Gadot, sacrifices
Gadot.
herself. Is it Gadot?
Gadot.
Is that how you say it?
Is it?
Yes, it is. Gal Gadot.
Godot sacrifices herself for Han. I cried. I also cried when the Wiz Khalifa song starts playing and they're looking at each other doing the same thing they did from the first movie, daring each other to look away. But this time it's not because they want to prove that they're better than each other. It's because they love each other.
Yeah.
Because they're family.
Man, I mean, honestly,
it's so good.
We could talk about this franchise forever.
Of course we could.
But going back to the question of it being inspiring, like it's inspiring to me that Justin Lin kind of saw the value in this and understood that there was fans like me out there.
Was it John Singleton that directed the first two?
Rob Cohen did the first one, and John Singleton the second.
Second one, okay. Oh, God. And the second one was such a disaster. But the thing is, Justin Lin took all these pieces and kind of made it all count. And again, I don't like 4. 4 is a bad movie. But I remember going into 4 being like, oh my God, they're bringing. I was kind of a hater on 4 going into it because I'm like, no, give me Han. Give me Tokyo Drift. I don't care about the other shit. Like Tokyo Drift is the thing that is like really made this something special to me. And then I went in and watched it, and in the first scene, Han's in it, and I was like, wait, what? How is Han in this? This doesn't make sense. And me and my group of friends were like so confused by it all because I'm like, how? But Han, he died. Like what the fuck? And I was like, oh my God.
Because at the end when he's like, I know Han. Now we're going back to when I knew Han.
And that to me was like, okay, I trust Justin fucking Lin. This Fast 5 is going to be amazing. And that's when Fast 5 happened. I was like, I knew I was right. I knew we should have trusted him because they were building something. And so that's why Fast 5 is what inspires me because it proves that if you believe in something.
Fast 4 inspires you.
No, 5.
Oh, you said 4 originally. No, was the movie that inspired you from the series?
No. I was saying 5. I was saying it took 4. 4 was messy and stuff. But 5 inspires me because 5 proved that you can do it.
Got it.
Like you can turn this mess.
So 5 was the proof in the pudding.
I will turn this car around right now.
Yes.
And that's where we are. The next question for this show is, what is a film or a scene from a film that triggers a memory for you? Perhaps it's a painful memory. Perhaps it's a happy memory. And we are doing that Fast and Furious specific. So, Tim, you want to start us off?
Oh my! I mean, this question is so hard because there is so many scenes tied to memories in my life of the groups of people I'm with, and I'm lucky enough that I'm born and raised San Francisco, and I'm still in San Francisco, and so are many of my friends. So we all literally grew up together watching these movies, and with my group of friends, I've seen pretty much every movie in theaters with them opening day. And I remember vividly being 12 years old going to see Too Fast, Too Furious with this group, the same group of people that I saw Tokyo Drift and Fast 4 and Fast 5. And so all of that, obviously, I grew with. But with that and all the stuff we were just talking about with Justin Lin kind of making this a Fast and Furious cinematic universe, and with how much of a joke of me being infatuated with Han was with my group of friends, like, it got to the point where once we realized there's some time play going on and all this stuff, it was like, when is Han coming back? Like, when are they going to Tokyo? And they teased it for 3 movies where at the end Han would be like, I'm going to this place. And it's like, you're not going to Tokyo? Then where are you going? Right. And then the next one he's like, I'm thinking about going to Tokyo. And then it ends with him going with Gal Gadot to Tokyo. And you're like, oh my God. But then in Fast 6, my moment that I'm choosing is the post-credit scene of Fast 6, where it is revealed that we're back in Tokyo and that Jason motherfucking Statham was the one that killed Han.
Yeah.
Never have I had a better theater moment than that. Every single person in that theater had just watched a movie they were completely enraptured by in terms of ridiculousness. And everyone's on the same page. If you're watching a Fast and Furious movie at midnight, you're one of the craziest.
Yeah.
So to see Han, to see this whole thing, and then to have that reveal, it was like, this was worth every moment that I waited for this. And every single person, it was a moment. I'll never forget it. Like, there was a feeling of all of us where the entire row of people jumped forward like, what? And it was awesome.
My wow moment, I think, is, I mean, there's lots of them, obviously. There's the first time I moved in with my then fiance, now wife, sitting there watching the first one together with her on the couch was like, that was a fun moment because it was like a touchstone from my past and then, going into my future. So that's the kind of over romanticized, cheesy answer. The real answer though is when they're doing the scene where the cars are jumping from building to building in 7, and I think I was sitting next to you, and he jumps from the first, and all in the trailer you'd only seen was one building. But you didn't realize there was another fucking building. And that to me is Fast and the Furious in a nutshell. It's not about, let's be honest, it's not about quality storytelling, right? It is about exactly what a car race would be, which is like one-upping the one before it, right? Taking that, trying to figure out what scene you're going to show the audience to get them that hit of adrenaline to make you, more and more invested in those characters and in their struggle. And it somehow works. Like if you add up if you separate all the parts by themselves and you look at them individually, all those films, they're terrible movies, right? But because they're all put together in that specific way, that the sum is just so much better than the equal of its parts. I don't know how they keep doing it, but they keep my interest, and I'm very much looking forward to it.
And that's a perfect summation of the entire franchise. And I think with a success of Fury 7 specifically I think there was a lot riding on it. It was the first time it wasn't Justin Lin directing it.
Was it James Wong?
James Wong. Yeah. And he did such a good, he had a lot going into it. But what I'm impressed with is that, the trailer didn't give away all the things. Like, the trailer showed the one to the other, but the fact that they teased that and then we saw more, that was the perfect thing of like, oh, you're too good to us.
God, you love us. You love it. You get us. That's what I kept saying. I'm like, you get us.
And
you guys
that's
get
the
us.
same movie that involved the cars parachuting out of a jet.
Yep.
What?
Fantastic. For no reason. They just parachuted out of a jet.
The point?
They could have driven up. Well, I guess they
they
couldn't get to the remote
couldn't
area,
get
so they
into
had
it,
to parachute their cars out with, not a lot of controls as to how to control a parachute. But it doesn't matter.
It's amazing. I don't know how that, like, I want to see one of those like Mythbusters in real life, like parachuting a car out. Like, what does that look like? It just goes clunk, and that's it. It's dead.
They had some real.
You can. I mean,
nasty
they've done it.
hydraulics going.
The military will deliver vehicles like that. Well, they'll push like a tank and shit out. But you got to have like 8 parachutes and a landing space that's the size of the desert because that thing's gonna land wherever the hell it wants. I was in a hot air balloon once, and I remember I made the mistake of asking the guy, I'm like, so how do you control this thing? And he goes, you don't. And I'm like, information that would have been really important to know before
Yesterday.
I left off. Yeah. So yeah, what's the next question?
So wait, then your memory is watching the first one with your wife.
I have a really good memory of sitting on the couch watching the first one with my wife, and then having her go, "Oh, I like this movie." Not like I love this movie, but like, "Oh, yeah, I remember this. I like this movie." And me going,
"Did you watch the rest together or?"
No, because I have a hard time getting through the second one. It's not. It's not a great film. In fact, it falls apart in a lot of ways. Namely that you're just like, what the fuck is going on? What's happening in this? And so my wife is a very good sort of filter for that. If it's a movie that I barely like, she is definitely not going to like it. So we kind of skip over that. And then I tried to get her to watch Tokyo Drift. She's not really as diehard as far as the chronological order goes. She's like, she hasn't seen 7, but she liked 6. She likes 5. She's like, oh, maybe we'll watch 7 one day. So when it's probably on HBO right now, we should probably watch it. Yeah. But yeah, so that was that fun memory.
I mean, not to go have too many memories here, but again, it's hard to choose just
keep
one.
Going.
It's funny, and it's actually kind of not surprising how intrinsically tied Fast and Furious is to my relationship. And many relationships I've had, like the amount of times I've been one-on-one with somebody and explained to them the entire story of the Fast and the Furious and why it all matters, and like the detail that I'd go into and like making sure I nail all of it. It's embarrassing is one word, but impressive is another, and I'm going to go with that one. But with Gia, it was a thing where I sold this girl that should have nothing to do with the Fast and Furious. Nope. On the Fast and Furious, she's like, I'll give it a shot. And I'll never forget, this was very early in our relationship. And we started watching Fast 1 together. First time we had sex in the middle of that movie. So that was great.
In the middle of the movie?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we had to stop the movie. So then she had to watch the rest of it by herself, and it was a whole thing. But so anyways, the movie wasn't keeping her attention, so I was happy that I was having sex, but I was unhappy.
You're like, this relationship's not going to work out.
The Fast and the Furious.
Right.
But then later I was like, oh man, like, all right, I was like, I'm not going to push this on her. Like, we tried. It is what it is.
Right.
And it wasn't until 3 days later that I get a text from her that just says, I get it. And I was like, what do you mean you get it? She's like, I'm at work and I started rewatching the first movie, and all of a sudden I get it. Dominic Toretto is all that matters. And I'm like, And that's why I fucking love you. And then I was like, but now you're going to have to get through 2, and that's really hard.
Right.
But I promise it's
you
going
don't
to get
preface
worse.
it that way.
because that's where Tyrese comes in, right?
Yeah, and see, that's what I'm
And
saying.
Lou-
I am a
Tyrese is pretty
firm believer
funny.
that you can't skip any of them. Like, you
You
got to
can't-
tough it out.
Well, that's
you just
also
need to
like
know.
because also you know it's all relative. You have to watch the second one so you can really appreciate how good the rest of them are, right?
That's true.
'Cause the
You
second one
have to
is
go
so
through the bad
bad.
ones to realize how great things are.
Yeah.
The same thing with Rocky. Like went through the Rocky series like within the last year, and so many people said to me, "You can just skip 5," and I was like, "No, I have to watch 5. Like I have
5.
to." Rocky 5, where they're like street fighting.
Oh yeah, that was bad.
It was
I'm
not
sorry. I
good.
thought you meant Rocky Balboa. I was like, do not
No,
skip
Rocky
Rocky Balboa.
Balboa
That
is
makes me
great.
cry.
That's another one I didn't see in order. I saw like Rocky Balboa first. I saw parts of 4 like
That's
my
actually-
entire life.
Yeah, well, 4 is the iconic Rocky,
Yeah, of
but
course.
the 1 and 5 are probably actually the best movies, the best Rockies. Creed's really good too.
I like 2. 2 is actually my favorite Rocky.
2's good. It's just kind of a remake of the first one, kind of in a way.
Yeah, but it's like Creed's. I mean, he's got his like, I am out for like vengeance. Like,
Right.
I want to prove people think this was a joke and like that I didn't actually, that I let him kind of, lead me on in
Right.
this first one. But I want to prove that no, I'm going to like knock him out and stuff. Like, he had some real agenda.
It was good. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the second
Sorry
one
to
as well.
derail.
I like the third one too.
Love
The
it.
third one's amazing.
I love this.
The third one's amazing because then they become friends. That's when
Yes.
that's the thing you've always wanted to see.
Listen.
Like they form this amazing relationship with each other. Where you're like,
And then 4, and you're just like, no.
that was
The
absurd.
beginning
They
was
should not have
so
done
sad.
that. That was so. And that poor Carl Weathers. That's all he had.
And
then he got
Creed is
Arrested
amazing.
Development and it worked out.
Sorry, I'm tangent. All right, let's go with our final question,
Okay.
which is what is a Fast and Furious film that helps you through difficult times? Nick, let's start with you.
Probably the first one. Honestly, the first one is sort of that's my comfort food when it comes to movies. Any of them really, if something's on, it's like it's that list of movies that if it's on, you have to watch it. But there's just something very special going back and looking at the
Yes.
first Fast and Furious that you don't really get. You get more of in the rest of the series, but that they were all young, they all cared about their careers still. The movie is so absurd, but it's endearingly absurd that they would do these car heists with souped up Honda Civics with for no reason like lights underneath them. Why not?
The lights were in 2.
Oh, the lights in 2?
Oh, yeah.
Is that what it was? Am I mixing them?
2 is when they went hard on the lights. There was lights in 1, but
But I just like, 1 is the origin story, and the origin story is always fun, right? One is
Right.
one is seeing Paul Walker and Vin Diesel like have that on-screen chemistry that is so bromantic, but at the same time so real, that you could actually tell that in real life. They're like, oh, they probably like each other a lot.
Probably did. Tim,
I mean, all of them. It's similar to what
Sure.
Nick's saying. Is like these are the comfort foods, but I gotta go Tokyo Drift. There's something about Tokyo Drift that is, to me, it will always be my favorite. It's not the best, but it will always be my favorite movie.
worst.
My favorite of the
it's
Fast and Furious
because
movies.
Zachary Ty Bryan is in it.
Zachary
That's
Ty
why.
Bryan is in it, but I like Han and all of that stuff. Like everything about that movie was so perfect for Tim Gettys in 2008 or whenever it happened. What
Let's
was
see,
it?
2006.
2006. Yeah, it was like that was so special then. So it's just like, all right, I'm gonna give it to that for sure.
All right.
Well, there you go.
Well, there you go. I did before we wrap this up. I do want to do a few things. They have not announced a director for Fast 8 or Fast and Furious 9, which comes out in 2019. Any thoughts on who you'd like to see direct this? I have some ideas.
So Fast 8 is being directed by
F. Gary Gray,
which I
who
cannot
did
wait for.
Straight Outta Compton. The Italian Job? Did I write that down? Yes,
that
the
makes
Italian
sense.
Job,
We
the
also did
remake
Friday,
Italian
I
Job.
believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he's
Just
like,
imagine.
I'm
this
excited
is
for
gonna be good.
this.
Oh no, that's
We're getting a
amazing.
trailer December 4th.
Yeah, he's a
for
great
Fast 8.
director.
Who do I want to direct?
But here's some
Fast
ideas
9?
that I
Throw
have.
some out.
Peyton Reed could be really good. He did Ant-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Damien Chazelle could be interesting.
That would be interesting.
That would be
That would
interesting.
be very interesting. I think he could do it.
What if we had Nicholas Winding Refn do a Fast
that would be
and
the
Furious?
worst.
That would be so
That would be
incredible.
the worst thing possible.
I think Ryan Coogler.
Ryan Coogler could make an
Could
amazing.
take it.
Ryan Coogler is a phenomenal director. He can make an amazing Fast and Furious movie for sure. I mean, when I think Fast and Furious, I
And
think
Taika
guys.
Waititi would be my favorite.
Who's that?
What We Do in the Shadows. He's doing
Oh,
Thor
yeah.
Oh
Ragnarok
shit!
right
Yes,
now.
he's funny.
He's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh, and then I do want us to rank it.
Rank
Oh,
it.
okay. We're gonna rank them.
After. So if you have a director,
I mean, the only director that I could really think of that I'd love to see come back to that series is Justin Lin, and I know that he just did Star Trek,
that'd be awesome.
and I have my opinions on that movie and whether or not he was right for that, a fit for that, because essentially
This
it was
was the
just
newest.
Fast and Furious in space. Yeah.
oh, okay. I should see it. I haven't seen that one.
It's good.
I
It's
missed
good.
it.
It's not the best in the
It's
series.
good.
I think that the Star Trek series, in my opinion, has really gone in descending order. Like 1 was great, 2 was okay, 3 was a little bit more of the same, and I think that it had a different vibe to it, obviously with a different director, but it just didn't have the panache that the other ones had. And I think largely that was because of the script, though. So I'd love to see Justin Lin come back to the series and pick it back up for a couple more movies,
Yeah.
but I doubt
Yeah.
we're going to see that.
Yeah, I mean, Justin Lin's definitely the right answer.
Yeah.
For me, and these are just answers that I feel like I would give for literally any movie, just because I loved him so much. But Edgar Wright, I would love to
Yes.
see what he does with it,
I
because I
love
feel
him.
like at that point, because we need to keep in mind here that we are getting to a point that it is going to be soon impossible to keep one-upping the previous ones.
Well, yeah,
With-
we're also
with-
getting to a point, the old man Logan point, where it's like at some point Vin Diesel is going to have to retire the reins.
Oh my
And so
gosh!
that's
and he's
why-
coming back to Triple X. I don't
cannot
know.
wait
I
for
don't
that.
know.
Fuck yes, he is. And here's the only travesty about that. The
Yes.
only sad thing about him coming back to Triple X is that Ice Cube didn't do it first. Because I stand by the fact that Triple X State of the Union, vastly better movie than the original Triple X because of Ice Cube.
We'll see
Oh, man.
if Ice Cube has a cameo.
If he has a cameo, that'll
That'd be
be.
so
I will
cool.
take all of my clothes off and just hug the screen,
But yeah,
and then get arrested.
I would like to see Edgar Wright, because I feel like the franchise is getting to a point that if they keep trying to one up just the crazy spectacle, because really the next thing is
Yeah.
space, and we already kind of saw it with Star Trek. But there's not much more they can do. So I think that with F. Gary Gray, we're going to be getting a much more intimate movie,
Right.
like more character driven,
Sure.
driven. And so I think that with someone like Edgar Wright or the dudes that did Lego Movie,
Oh,
Yeah.
Phil, Chris Lord.
I'm seeing their
I
faces.
don't know the names, but
Chris
those
Lord,
Yes.
is it Lord?
It's them.
oh yeah, Laura.
Yeah.
Those dudes,
Phil
I'd love
Lord.
to see that.
Phil
I feel
Lord.
like this franchise is due for a shake up and being a bit more 21 Jump Street.
Oh yeah,
fun.
Well, on that note, if you want to see people that would make probably an amazingly structured and beautiful action movie, you got to go with the Russo brothers. Those guys, the guys that did Captain America, Winter
Yep.
Soldier,
And Civil War.
and Civil War, those guys have it. They're in my opinion, top 5 best directors in Hollywood working today by
Yeah.
far. As far as action, like big budget action films, those guys have it nailed.
Yeah, so that's exciting.
Their thing on set is how can we make this an honest trailer proof movie?
That's good. That's good.
So that's what they try to do.
I've been said this for many, many years,
Yes.
but I'm happy that we're actually going to get to the 10th Fast and Furious movie. But it needs to go back to the Too Fast style naming convention, and this needs to be called Fast 10 Furious.
Oh,
You're almost as bad as Greg with his Varsity 2s.
I'm the one that came up with that. It'd be great,
You
though.
should have been a
Fast
studio
10
exec.
Furious?
Yeah,
It'd be
that's.
fantastic.
What if you were in it and it was
Yeah.
Fast Tim Furious?
Oh my God. Yes.
Even better.
Now would it be spelled out FAST then like EN?
No, it'd
No.
be
Or-
FAS 10
Oh,
No
okay,
space.
okay.
FUR
Got it.
IOUS.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's good.
So send your check to Tim Gettys when you name it that. All right, let's go with our rankings because I want to know your guys' from best to worst.
The rankings are hard, and we've discussed this
They are
many
hard.
times. I want this to be said in the beginning so everybody understands. Earlier, I referred to the Fast and Furious cinematic universe, which it very much is, because we're not going to be including Los Bandoleros or the other short, because there are shorts
Better
that
Off Dead.
bridge Fast 1 to 2.
What's
and-
Los Bandoleros? Are there really?
Yeah, there's
know this.
shorts that come on the DVDs that bridge. That,
Oh, that's right,
There's
yeah.
2 of them. One of them explains what Paul Walker did to get to Miami, so it's why he left Vin Diesel and like what happened
That makes sense.
getting him to and being with Ludacris and Tyrese. And then there's one between 3 and 4 that explains how Han met up with the rest of the group.
Got
Han
it.
and the 2 Latin dudes, the Tego
Got it.
Calderon or whatever his name is. And anyway, so we're not counting those, and we're
Okay.
also not counting Better Luck Tomorrow.
That's
the movie
just a Han
directed-
origin
amazing
story, right?
film.
the Han origin story, which is so awesome.
He's so good.
Because I remember again going
Ladies
back
and
to
gentlemen, you got to see Better Luck Tomorrow if you have not,
I love
because it
Better Luck
is
Tomorrow.
one of
it. It's a
the
Not a great.
greatest.
It's not a great movie.
It is a great movie.
It's interesting to see because that's like I remember watching that movie going interesting. That was an interesting movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like obviously it didn't. It wasn't all 100% there of what I wanted it to be. Some of the acting was questionable. I think it's largely driven by the story and its plot, and the ending was cool. But then to see Justin Lin go from that, which is this very humble film, that's you can tell was like very much in his ballpark, to then
He made
doing what
on
he's doing
credit
now.
cards.
Holy crap, dude!
And because I remember
for him.
seeing Better Luck Tomorrow and being like, all right, cool. And I remember the Han character, and then I see the same actor in Tokyo Drift. I'm like, oh, that's cool, same director, whatever. And there's like, oh, they're calling him Han. Oh my God, it's Han. Oh, this is the same fucking Han. God
Yes.
bless you, Justin.
So we're not counting that.
So we're not
one.
counting those. Okay, cool, good to know.
I'll go
Ranking
with
them.
mine. You want to go? I'll
You go first.
start
Go
it off.
first.
Okay. Don't hate me. 7 would be the one that I like the most,
Okay,
followed by 5,
okay.
then 6, 3, 1, 4, 2.
That is a damn fine, respectable list.
Thank
Good
you.
list.
I love that. I will say it's hard. I don't have a definitive list. I feel like one day I will force myself to stick to something.
You could probably definitely do what's lowest on the list, right?
Yes, the last two are for sure 2, 4. So 2 is the worst.
Yes.
4 is the second
Yeah.
worst.
Okay.
Easily.
Undeniable.
Yeah.
In terms of the top spot, I could never give the top spot to 7. I think 5 deserves it because it is just the best. But we start dealing with the Star Wars syndrome of Empire's great, but without the other ones, Empire couldn't be as good as it is. And I think that 6 and 7 are better, but only if you also get the rest of them. 5 is a standalone fucking masterpiece. So 5,
go
6,
with
and
that.
7, I do think are fairly interchangeable in terms of their quality, but 5 is more of a standalone, so I give it the nod there. And then I love 3 so much, so I put it above 1 in the middle tier.
Interesting. Okay. I always go 1 as my number 1, just because I love that movie so much. It's so perfect in its imperfection that I can't even stand
And
it.
so much nostalgia comes with
Well,
it.
yeah, and I also give it credit. The same was with the Harry Potter movies, where I give number 1 the top slot, just because
Really?
it's the one that started it all, right? Like that gets
Oh my
it gets an extra
gosh.
50 points on the scale, just because you
To
literally
Hufflepuff.
wouldn't have anything
To
else.
50
Hufflepuff.
points
Yeah,
to Hufflepuff.
No,
Thank
first of all,
you.
Hufflepuff doesn't get any of my fucking points.
Shut
It's either
the
Ravenclaw or
fuck
Gryffindor.
up.
Sorry,
I am a Hufflepuff.
Yeah, because you're a theater kid.
I am a theater
Yeah, I know
kid.
you are. All theater kids are Hufflepuff.
Because we're
all
the
frat,
best.
all frat and sorority people are Gryffindor. I'm Ravenclaw, which I guess one could say was probably the computer science nerds and the business nerds.
I was Gryffindor, but I don't believe that.
I'm pretty sure you're a Slytherin.
I'm a fucking Slytherin.
You're Slytherin third day.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I know a Slytherin when I see one. But that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No,
That was
I
good.
take it in a good way. I'm one of
Yeah.
the good Slytherins.
Yeah, Slytherins are the schemers. But for me, I love 1 above all. I'll go. And my list changes all the time too. Since the second slot is where I vacillate. It's either 5 or 6 for me. I'm gonna go 6 because I loved 6. I thought it was a really well made movie. Then 5. No, yeah, then 5, then 3, then 4, then 2. Did I get them all?
7. You missed 7.
Oh, 7. Sorry. Then 5, then 3, then 7, then 4, then 2. I love 7, but 7, unfortunately, 7 would have been a fucking amazing movie. Unfortunately, Paul Walker died halfway through it, and I really think that actually it sucks for the cast and crew of that. But I think it would have been a phenomenal movie otherwise. It was good. It was still fun, but that's extenuating circumstances there that keeps it out of the number 1 slot.
I think because I had such an emotional reaction to the end of 7, I'm like, that's got to be the best for me.
Yeah. And I mean, with that being said, like I think 6 might get my shout out because that end of 6, when it does tie everything back, I was like, you can't beat this. Like,
That's what I'm
there's
saying.
nothing
6
that
was
can
solid,
beat
man.
this for
6
me.
was so solid.
So,
What's sad is I was like, God, now I want to go back and watch the Fast and Furious movies, but I don't have the Blu-rays.
if only we had the entire.
If only we had them on set with us right now, so we can keep them near and dear to our hearts.
Oh, you know what? Mine came in a tire.
Did it really?
Yeah,
It
see,
did.
I couldn't do that
It
because
did.
these steel books are just too.
Wow.
damn-
Those are really
Oh.
cool.
Look at how beautiful they are.
Those are
And they
even
have
better than the tire.
They're all colored. And
They
then
probably have like nice stuff on the inside that's like a book or something.
They have the numbers on the side. Everything about these, and there's numbers on the back if you can see, is great. Now, my worry, one of my greatest worries in life, is what about when Best Buy stops doing these?
Oh,
If
that is a
Fast 8 comes
problem.
out-
You're gonna have to. You're gonna have
But
to. buy them all.
what I appreciate is they first started doing them when 4 was out.
Right.
So I had these, and then they've had 3 movies, which when you think about it, this is 6 years worth of content.
Yep.
And they've stuck to it.
Mm-hmm.
God bless.
There you go.
Well, thank you, Tim and Nick, for joining me on this session of film therapy. Where can the other patients find you, Nick?
You can find me on Twitter at Nick_Scarpino, same as Instagram. And you can always find me every day at youtube.com/kindoffunny.
Find me at Tim Gettys all over the internet. And yeah, youtube.com/kindoffunny. Thank you for having us.
Yes, I'm glad we could do this. I'm glad that we could discuss Fast and Furious the way that it should be
Anytime.
discussed.
At length, ad nausea.
Yeah.
That's right.
People that love it.
Yeah.
And you all can find me, let's see, I'm going to be in a musical at the Redondo Beach Performing Arts Center
What
at
musical?
the end of December. I don't know what it's called, but I'm going to be in it.
Okay, great.
It's a Christmas
Were you
musical.
drunk
It's
for
all
that
I know.
audition or what?
No, I had to, I auditioned for it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know what I'm doing. Or you can find me on Twitter at Miss Movies, because you probably won't be in the Redondo Beach area. So
If
Maybe
you want
Hey.
to check it out.
thank you for joining us on this episode of Film Therapy. We will see you next time. Bye. 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 You're supposed to join in.
Oh, am I?
Bye.
Bye. Bye.